And our favorite Brian Windhorst is back here on the program, ESPN senior NBA writer. Good to see you, Brian. How are you?
I want to apologize to you and your show on this very important day because I threw you a curveball, and it was because I forgot about my son's parent-teacher conference, and it was disrupt Rich Eisen's show and all of his viewers and listeners.
Yes.
Or disrupt my wife.
No.
And the decision was clearly made. I'm forcing you to disrupt your whole rundown. So,
Brian, we don't need your I guess put it this way, to be put on a 10-day contract. You know what I mean?
I want to be clear.
We don't want that from your
fault,
wife.
Rich. I am the offender everywhere here, but I had to make a choice.
Let's start with the first order of business in the NBA world. Cade Cunningham is out for how long and with what? What's happening here, Brian?
Yeah, this is brutal. So if you actually see the play where he gets hurt, and I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't seen it because it doesn't look that bad. He was in Washington a couple nights ago, and he dives for a loose ball, and he kind of gets kneed in the side by Trey Johnson there by the Wizards. It didn't look that bad. Now, he came out of the game, and he's got a collapsed lung. Now, a couple of things about a collapsed lung. First off, you can't fly for a while. So I would guess he's going to be driving back to Detroit because they're still in Washington. I remember like 15 years ago, this happened out here in L.A., where Gerald Wallace, who was playing for the Charlotte Bobcats, got elbowed in the ribs by Andrew Bynum, collapsed his lung. He had to drive back to Charlotte in a bus. It took days because you can't fly. So that's one thing that can't happen. But when the Pistons made the injury announcement a short time ago, they didn't say anything about a rib injury. Now, that's important because you can get your lung collapsed because you break a rib, and then you're recovering from the collapsed lung and you're recovering from the rib injury. They didn't say a rib injury here. So if he avoided a serious rib injury, I'm sure he's not feeling good today, but he theoretically should be able to return in time for the playoffs. It'll take some time to know for sure. So this is a blow. It stinks that I'm going to tell you now that I think he's going to be out of awards contention because they're saying he'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. Reevaluated does not mean play in 2 weeks. He's he's played 60 games. He needs to play 5 more. I'm not sure he's going to get 5 more. So I would say that the Pistons, they've got a 4-game lead for the number 1 seed. They're okay there. They're 5-2 when he doesn't play this year. There's tankers on their schedule because he's in the Eastern Conference. I think they'll be able to hang on to the number 1 seed would be my projection. And I think / hope that he'll be okay. I think where they really would need him would be for the second round. But I think there's hope within the Pistons that he'll be able to be back by the start of the playoffs, which is in about a month. So not great news, but hopefully not devastating for them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're going to have this injury happen, and you are going to be the heart and soul of a team that has felt destined, then a month out would be, I guess, the gray area of pushing it, you'd say, right, Brian? Is that the way we could look at it for the Pistons?
Yeah, look, I'm not a doctor. I don't have all the details. I would just say historically, this type of injury without a broken rib, I think he's going to be okay. Now, I don't know what his conditioning will be and all that stuff like that, but this is a blow to the Pistons, but hopefully will not completely derail their playoff hopes, because if he can't play, let's just be honest, they're not the same team. I mean, anybody who loses an MVP, serious MVP candidate won't be the same team, but they're particularly vulnerable because they rely so much on his creation and their offense. That's where they're a little bit short of shooting, and they're really short on offensive creation. So hopefully he's going to be okay. And, here's the thing, Rich, you can do playoff analysis for the rest of the afternoon. It's not going to matter if you're not healthy. And, I unfortunately, as we've seen this season goes, these playoffs probably will come down at one point or another to who's healthy. And here we have the Pistons dealing with an injury right now.
Brian Windhorst here on the Rich Eisen Show. The Giannis Antetokounmpo relationship with Milwaukee currently is what, Brian?
Not connected. And, this entire season has been really a complete just sort of disappointment for them. They made really one of the more aggressive transactions I can remember in the modern era last summer when they waived Dame Lillard's $100 million, on their, keeping it on, paying it off over the next 5 years on their books, basically. And then immediately went out and signed Miles Turner for $100 million. So it was like a $200 million transaction there, 100 million in dead money, 100 million in new money. And while Miles Turner is a quality player, Dame Lillard is a difference-making player. Miles Turner is not, and that transaction has not worked out. And then you've basically had Giannis being sidelined for more than half the season with injuries, and you have this in and out situation with whether Giannis wants to be there or not. You have a bunch of people talking in circles. Nobody will give you a straight answer. They absolutely had trade talks for him. Whether they ever actually seriously were thinking about trading him, that's a different story. But the teams that they were talking to thought they were. And look, if you want to come out to I would say 2,000 things. There are two things from the 10,000-foot view here. Number one, when he got that calf injury around the trade deadline, they elected to keep trying to win. I felt at that time, as annoying as it is for me to say this, that the correct decision was to tank and tell Giannis you're not going to play the rest of the season. Instead, they went 9-1 while Giannis was out. Now, that seems admirable, like, oh man, great job. And you can say that that's what a team should do, but that was the wrong organizational decision. And I'm not passing judgment on the idea that you should lose. I'm just telling you that the strategy said that they should have lost. Instead, they won. And when they came back, now they're in no man's land. They are in distant 11th place. They are not going to make the play-in. And they are probably their only really hope of going forward was to get a good draft pick this year so that they can either trade that pick or draft a player that you could say will refresh their roster, because they're really not in position to improve their roster in another meaningful way unless a miracle happens. Now, the miracle could happen at the lottery. They could go into the lottery with the 10th or 12th odds or whatever, and they could leap up. That could happen, but we're talking about single-digit percentage chance. The second thing from the 10,000-foot view, Rich, that I think is material here is Giannis has been injured all season. He has been injured routinely now over the last 3 years. He has had 5 different injuries this year that have caused him to miss time. And so really the Bucks' way to keep Giannis is to sign him to a 5-year, $270 million contract extension this fall.
Wow.
And I asked the question, and I don't know the answer here. I am not reporting anything. I am just nice. Saying, are the Bucks prepared to give him $275 million at this point? Maybe the answer is still absolutely, and he signs it and he doesn't get traded. But not only have you not traded him and you sort of have a lost season here, how do you feel about his health now that he's in his 30s going forward? And he's had all these injuries. Again, maybe the answer is we feel great about it. We're ready to sign him. But to me, I'm not sure that is an absolute no-brainer. So, these are, and now, I mean, I haven't even gotten to why you're asking this. The reason you're asking this is because the Bucks want to shut him down for the season and Giannis wants to play. And I would just say to you, this just sort of follows the disconnected thinking. The Bucks should have shut him down for the season when they decided not to trade him in February, because he'd already had 4 injuries on the season. And the best thing for the organization was to lose. Second thing is, now you've got another injury. So either you should have handled your business for the lottery or you should have protected your player. They brought him back and he's hurt again. So just in general, an absolutely complete disillusioning, disappointing season in Milwaukee, where Giannis and the Bucks have never seemed like they're acting in concert.
Well, I guess just to sound this out with you, Brian, maybe the Bucks need to, even without a high sign from Giannis, kick a tire on who else in the association would be interested in giving him that 5-year massive contract. Although I'm imagining, based on just the, basic knowledge of the rules here, they would be the only one to enrich him in the manner in which you're talking.
No. He can be traded and signed it elsewhere.
Okay,
In
so
fact,
then you could figure that who would be willing to do that.
I'm sure there are teams who will be willing to do it. I'm just
Okay.
questioning now whether or not that's something the Bucks are absolutely positively ready to do. They may be. The guys unfortunately had a lot of injuries the last couple of years.
Well, I'm just saying that would be the first part of the due diligence of their process, and kind of crossing streams between sports here. The NFL just saw what happened with Max Crosby, where he got sat by a team that wanted a better draft choice, pissed him off, wound up trading him. Now, we all know what happened after that. Now, that would be wild if that happened with Giannis in the NBA. But all that said is, if they sit him and then if they find a partner and then they sit him and it pisses him off enough for him to say, fine, I want out of here, then they get their way and they get him out and they start from scratch. Or they give him this contract and just say, you're a Buck for life. I mean, somebody's got to make that decision, I imagine, in the next month or two, right? Isn't that what it is?
As an aside, can I just say,
Please.
as a Browns fan, I was so annoyed by the fact that they won a couple of those games late.
Yeah. No, I
when
hear
it
you,
clearly
right?
wasn't saving the head coach's job, and now they're like out of it to get any of these quarterbacks, or at least the top quarterback.
The meteor came too late, Brian, in Northeast Ohio, you know?
I mean, it was just...
I know. Boom. But
mind-boggling to me. Should I comment that the same guy owns the Bucks and the Browns? I'm not actually going to comment on that. I'm going to move on from that. Because there's multiple owners of the Bucks. It's not a simple decision.
Understood.
But I'm not seeing a clear strategy line.
Yeah.
On what needs to be done. Again, I wish that NBA teams were not incentivized to lose. Unfortunately, they are incentivized to lose, which is why so many of them are losing. And the thing about it is, the Mavericks had the 10th or 11th best odds last year, ended up with Cooper Flag. So that lottery falls right, and the whole world changes for the Bucks. And by the way, it doesn't have to be the number one pick. If Bucks go into the top 4, things could get interesting. Now, the problem is that their pick potentially go to Atlanta, which is another situation. However,
yes.
they were incentivized to protect Giannis's health and to improve their lottery odds in February. And not only did they do neither, now they're even stuck farther into no man's land. And they're gonna make the decision that's apparently gonna piss Giannis off anyway, or they're seriously considering pissing Giannis off anyway. Fine, they should have made that decision 6 weeks ago, and then they could have pissed Giannis off, but then been in a better organizational position. So this is what I'm saying. If I was a Bucks fan, I would be pretty annoyed that my team has not handled its business a lot better. I can't control that Giannis keeps getting hurt. He has been a beast for many years. He provided many healthy seasons for the team. Maybe he'll play the next 3 years and not be injured, and whoever signs him will adore that contract for every day. I'm just saying that he has had a run of injuries here, and it has not been supported, in my view, by cogent strategy. And now we are left wondering how the cogent strategy is going to go going forward, considering how things have gone.
All right, one last topic for you, Brian Windhorst, before I send you off to that Zoom where you and your wife find out just how studious and well-mannered your child is. The Lakers have won 7 in a row. They've won 10 of 11. Luka's out of his skull right now. They kind of stole the Rockets' soul over the last 3 days. I mean, Durant, after Monday's loss, was talking about maybe he should be more of a role player to sum up his post-game commentary. This seems for real, Brian. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
subject matter?
I mean, we can certainly talk about them and the seeding. It was like a double win last night because they got not only the game and the standings, but also the tiebreaker. So they really pushed Houston down. Houston got a break that Denver had a absolutely reprehensible loss to Memphis, who's really right now tanking more efficiently and harder than anybody I've seen in the league.
Wow.
Memphis has done some incredible tank moves. Indiana is right there. But a real setback in the tanking machine for the Memphis last night, but that's another topic. Regardless of where they are in the seeding, regardless of what their winning streak is, what I care about the Lakers is that they seem to have found a pathway for how to play with this roster. Okay. And this was, in the middle of the season, Rich, they had a 39 game stretch where they went 19-20. They were middling for half of the year. Okay. And a significant factor in this is that their team is mostly healthy now. I mean, every team is going to look better when it's healthy. So that's, a factor here. But JJ Redick has rolled up his sleeves and found a way to get LeBron to buy into a role, which is I'm going to take fewer shots. I'm going to play fewer minutes. I'm going to have the ball fewer, and I'm going to spend a little bit more energy working hard on defense. And they're trying to keep him away from being a perimeter defender. He does sometimes still do that, but they're trying to play him more as an interior defender when he can. He's basically been playing backup center minutes at times. And they say, LeBron, you want your baskets, get easy baskets by getting out and running. And he's doing that. And as LeBron has taken this step back and his usage has gone down, it's freed up Luka to step forward and do that usage. And as a result, we've seen Luka have the 7 best games he's had as a Laker. And I very much am being brought back to the Miami years with LeBron. It's appropriate that they're in Miami tonight. I have a big story on ESPN.com today about the 27-game winning streak that the Heat had in 2013, because it's just a little retrospective with LeBron going back. And I would just say that in that Miami situation, that team found out how to play in its second year together. I know that they had success in the first year and they made the finals, but they really didn't figure out how to play together until the second year. And a big factor of that was, number one, Chris Bosh understanding that he was going to have to play sort of a, do the dirty work role. Number two, it was Dwayne Wade saying, I'm going to reduce what I do for this team. So LeBron, there was this idea that they were going to, share. And Dwayne said, no, LeBron, you go. And it was by year 2 that they ramped up. And year 2 and 3, they were at full power and they were a sight to behold. This is essentially year 2 with the Lakers has really just started with Luka, because they traded for him last February. And then at the beginning of the season, LeBron had sciatica. He wasn't even on the court. So this, I sort of am comping that Heat team had 3 guys in their prime. It's not, and they also complemented each other better. It's not obviously apples to apples. But what I'm saying is it took that institutional knowledge and the time for Eric Spoelstra to figure it out and everybody to identify their roles. That's where the Lakers are. And so not only do I think the Lakers potentially have something here going forward in this season that they can maybe replicate. If this keeps going, I'm seeing a pathway where LeBron could remain with this team. He's going to have to adjust his salary, but if they can continue and keep this going and find this balance where Reeves has a lane, Luka has the lion's share, and LeBron has a role, this is something I wasn't sure they were going to be able to do. And it's JJ Redick who deserves credit. It's LeBron, it's Luka, it's Reeves, it's Marcus Smart. They're doing something right now that isn't just important for how this season comes out, but for the next few years.
That can't be denied, man. I mean, LeBron was 13 of 14 from the field last night, and then Luka, a masterclass with 3.5 to go, makes a 3, splits 2 double teams with ridiculous dribble moves to set up Hachimura and James for easy alley-oops, and then a dagger 3 where he's barking at the fans, saying all sorts of nasty words that you can lip read.
Better the fans than the refs.
I know that.
He hasn't gotten a technical
away, right?
in weeks.
He's one away, right?
Technical in weeks.
Isn't he one technical away from having to be set?
Yes, and I mean, I don't think that's the entire reason why the Lakers are winning, but if you want to look at the pie chart of things, I think Luka backing off the refs is part of the equation.
Pie chart. I like it. You're getting ready. You're getting ready for that parent-teacher conference using pie chart.
I hope for Dane's sake that this is going to be a good report.
Last thing for you before I send you off to that, March Madness tipping off right now. Is it still an open question who could be first overall? Do we need to see somebody shine? Can somebody improve their standing with a nice 6-game run here in the tournament?
Yeah, so
Brian?
Typically when you talk about the draft process, the NCAA tournament doesn't usually weigh in that much. In fact, there will be some scouts out at games, but most of the scouts for teams all get together. They all have they go to Vegas or they go to Miami or they go to Arizona or they go to LA, and they all get in a room and their scouts all sort of watch games together. in this particular situation, because Darren Peterson has a little bit of uncertainty about that injury and his whole thing, I think Peterson potentially could help his stock more than normally. You know, top 2 or 3 pick. Like, no matter what Cooper Flagg did last year, whether or not Duke made the final game or got knocked out in the Sweet 16, he was going to be the number 1 pick. In most years, I think that's the case. I think Peterson especially has a lot to gain. Also, Acuna from Arkansas. This is a guy who's, I think, at the beginning of the year would have been viewed as mid to late first round pick. His incredible play, especially in the back half of the regular season, I think has brought him into top 10 range. I think if he continues to play in Arkansas, continues to thrive, I think he is a guy who could elevate his status also.
Yeah, Lendeborg has got 6 games left, hopefully. As a Michigan Wolverine, we'll see what he can do and all that stuff. Brian, I send you.
Oh, that's right. You went to Michigan.
Yeah. Just got had to drop
Brian,
that.
You knew.
Hey, Brian. Hey, listen. You know the Browns are putting a rule out there apparently that the NFL teams should be allowed to sell off their draft choices 5 years in the future. That's only 3 years. NFL teams are only allowed to trade first-round draft choices 3 years in the future. The Browns are like, let's do this like the NBA. 5 years. Let's just keep going.
This is a team that is building a stadium at the airport.
You're the man, Brian.
Have a great weekend, guys.
You too. Have a great. I believe in the Windhorst progeny here. I believe this is going to be great.
Yeah,
It's going to be great.
I'm the one who's more in trouble at this juncture.
You're a present dad, man. You got this. You got this. Yeah. Zoom. Get going in case the Zoom link doesn't work. Okay.
All right.
Take care.
Have a good day.
That's Brian Windhorst over here. Brian Windhorst and the Hoop Collective podcast, as well as all the ESPN family of networks.
Suited for the Zoom.
Well, I mean, he did First Take.
I get it.
And then now he's going to be showing up for the parent-teacher Zoom right now, and it's going to be good. Yeah, he hit me up about half hour before the show. Hey, what can we do here? I helped him. We move things around. Yeah, all right, let's take a break here. When we come back, what we were gonna do to start the program until the Windhorst family Zoom needed to be accommodated. Our final 4 picks. We got that going on. Yours as well.